Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to discuss about the reproduction in the class bivalvia. We know that actually the class bivalvia is the class of phylum Mollusca. So the first class of the phylum Mollusca was class Gastropoda. Second class of phylum Mollusca is class bivalvia. In the previous lecture we have discussed about the gaseous exchange, filter feeding as well as digestive system. So in this lecture we will focus on the reproduction in the bivalvians. Actually bivalvians are the members of class bivalvia. We know that the great variety of organisms are present, great variety of species of bivalvians is present in the class bivalvia, about more than 30,000 species. So they have different reproductive behaviors, but in general we will discuss how the reproduction will take place in the phylum Mollusca's class bivalvia. So when we talk about the reproduction, so firstly we have to discuss about the type of reproduction which occur in the class bivalvia. Types of reproduction. So when we talk about the types of reproduction, then the sexual type of reproduction take place in this class. So we can write here sexual reproduction. But in the sexual reproduction, again two type of sexual reproductions are there in this class. So the first one is on the basis of fertilization, is external fertilization. External fertilization. And the second type of fertilization is internal fertilization. Internal fertilization. So the important point is that the sexual reproduction is take place in this class of the phylum Mollusca, which is known as bivalvia, and in the sexual reproduction two type of fertilizations are there. The first type of fertilization is known as external fertilization and the second is known as internal fertilization. So we will discuss these both type of fertilization in the class bivalvia. So firstly we have to discuss about the sexes of the class bivalvia generally, then we will focus on the external fertilization as well as internal fertilization. So in general we will discuss that the members of the class bivalvia may be monoecious as well as dioecious. So firstly we will discuss that how what are the meanings of the word dioecious as well as monoecious. So firstly we will discuss about the dioecious. So what are the meanings of this word dioecious? Here, what is the definition of dioecious? The dioecious means the animals having both sexes, having sexes male and female in separate individuals. If the animals are the separate male and separate female, so such kind of organisms are known as dioecious. So another point is monoecious. Monoecious. So what are the meanings of this word, or what is the definition of this word monoecious? If male and female both sexes are present in the same body, so such type of organism is known as monoecious. So we can mention here, if both sexes are in the same body, then organism is known as monoecious. Monoecious. It means male and female. both sexes are present in the same body in case of monoecious. Male and female are present on the different or a separate individual in case of dioecious. But another thing is that some bivalves are also protandric. So what are the protandric organisms? Protandric. So what are the protandric organisms? Actually, protandry is a type of monoecious organism. Actually, the protandric organisms are the monoecious. It means having both sexes, male and female, in the same body. But in protandric condition, male sex in organism develop first in early life, and female sex develop later in later life. It means protandry or a protandric situation or a condition is that male sex developed during the early life of the animal and the female sex is developed during the later or a late life of the organism. So such kind of organisms are known as protandric organisms. So now these are the terms we have discussed which are related to this class of phylum Mollusca, which is known as bivalvia. So now we will discuss about the external fertilization as well as internal fertilization. So firstly we will discuss about the external fertilization. So we can mention here external fertilization. So when we talk about the external fertilization, we know that the body of bivalvia consists of two valves like this. This one is a one valve and upper to this that will be another valve. And we know that this body contains two regions, and one region is the region through which water will come inside the body, and that region is known as incurrent or inhalant region. And the point through which water leave the body, that will be known as exhalant region. And if we consider this animal as a female, then we know that during the external fertilization, all the male gamete as well as female gamete will release from body to outside environment. If this one is a male, then it will produce sperm, and these sperm will release the body through this exhalant region. And if we consider this animal is a female, so similarly the eggs will release from this body through exhalant region. So both gametes will taken out from inside of the body into outside environment, and external fertilization will take place. So for example, this one is an egg and this one is a sperm, which is a male gamete. So these both fuse in external environment, not inside the body. So that's why it is known as external fertilization. So now in the first stage, the larva is produced, and that larva is known as trophophore larva. This trophophore larva will change into another type of larva, and that type of larva is known as veliger larva. And this veliger larva actually will develop into adult, and this is actually larva that is independent and similar to adult and start filter feeding on the substrate. So this was actually the external fertilization. So now we will discuss about the internal fertilization in the bivalves. Internal fertilization. So how internal fertilization will take place? Actually, we know that when we talk about the internal fertilization, it may be possible that these are dioecious. It means having separate sexes in their different bodies or separate bodies. So for example, we can consider that this one is an animal having the male sex and that is known as male. So these are the gills and this is the digestive system. This is the digestive system. Now if we try to label this diagram, this is exhalent region. Exhalent region through which water will leave the body. This one is a mouth, this one is a stomach, and this portion is actually the lobe of intestine, and the gonads are always present around the loop of intestine in the bivalve, which are involved in the sexual reproduction as well as internal and external fertilization in both cases. So these are the gonads. Location of gonad is same in both male as well as female. So there are these are the two possibilities of shedding their gametes into outside as well as into the mantle cavity. There are two possibilities to release their gametes in the mantle cavity. So in first case, these gonads will directly leave their gametes into this cavity which is known as mantle cavity. But in the second case, here the protonephridia are present. In second case, these gonads release their gametes into protonephridia and then protonephridia release their gametes into mantle cavity. So these are two possibilities of releasing of gametes into the mantle cavity. First one is these gonads which are located around the lobe of intestine release their gametes directly into the mantle cavity, but in second case they will release their gametes firstly into protonephridia and protonephridia will release into mantle cavity. So this was the release of gametes, but now we will discuss how the fertilization will take place and how the development occur in these organisms. When we talk about the fertilization, then fertilization is internal because we are going to discuss about the internal fertilization. If we talk about this region, near to exhalent region, another region is present and this region is known as inhalent region. Inhalent region. During this from this inhalent region, this one is a female, the male gametes will enter from this inhalent region and reach to the eggs which are present in the mantle cavity. So what will happen? So fertilization will take place. For example, this one is an animal, these are the eggs, and this one is a sperm. So fertilization is internal inside the body. So what will happen after the fertilization? When the fertilization is occur, then the larva is produced inside the body and that larva is known as trochophore larva. Trochophore larva. So this larva, it means from the time of fertilization to the time of trophophore larva formation, they are living in the gills of the bivalves. So when the trophophore larva is formed, then this larva will come out from the body. So this is a trophophore larva, and now this is taken out from the body to outside environments. So now this trophophore larva will change into another type of larva, which is known as veliger larva. But in some bivalves, this veliger larva is converted into another form of larva. That larva is known as Globidium larva. This Globidium larva is actually parasitic in nature. This larva is parasitic in nature. It means this Globidium larva now acting as a parasite, but host of this Globidium larva is a fish. For example, this one is a fish. So there are points at which this Globidium larva can attack as a parasite. So first point is the fins. It can attack on the fins of the fish. The second point is it may be attack on the gills. These are the most susceptible portion of the fish body where this Globidium larva can attack. But in some cases, this Globidium larva can attack on the other parts of the body of fish also. So what will happen? Actually, when this Globidium larva is acting as a parasite in this fish, and this fish secrete a structure around it, and inside the body of fish, this Globidium larva is acting as a cyst. It means when this Globidium larva is present inside the body, the fish secrete around some chemicals and become a cyst. But in this situation, this is acting as a parasite and getting a food from this fish, which is actually a host of this Globidium larva. So when the complete development of this Globidium larva is take place from Globidium larva to a complete adult, then this will taken out and acting as a filter feeding individual of the class bivalvia, or acting as a adult bivalves. So this was all about the reproduction and development in the class bivalvia. Actually, that is the class of phylum Mollusca.